In the silence that came before your first cry, something sacred was already in motion. You didn't arrive in this world by chance. You didn't just breathe, you were activated. From the very moment your lungs took in air, your soul remembered what your mind had not yet learned. You were chosen. Chosen not for comfort, not for applause, but for purpose. A divine purpose carved before time, hidden in the depths of your being. And though others see life as a simple biological occurrence, the chosen know that it began far earlier. Before your name was spoken, heaven had already whispered it. Before you opened your eyes, your spirit had already seen. Before the world touched you, the divine had already marked you. Every detail surrounding your birth, the place, the people, the atmosphere, was not random. Even the pain, even the silence, were part of a divine orchestration. You were separated, not rejected. You were planted, not lost. And now, as you walk through this world that often feels foreign, your soul still hears the call. That subtle pull, that inner knowing, that restless whisper in your heart. It's not imagination, it's memory. Memory of a sacred mission etched into your very essence. You were born with a spiritual imprint, a seal from heaven. And though the world around you tried to silence it, it never faded. Because from your first breath, you were never meant to blend in. You were meant to awaken. From an early age, something inside you whispered, "You are not like them." While others played without a care, your soul wandered in silence. While children ran freely, laughing, you stood still, feeling things you couldn't explain. There was a voice within you, not audible to the ears, but echoing deeply in the heart. It wasn't fear. It wasn't confusion. It was memory. A memory of something older than your name, older than your body. A sacred remembrance of a calling written in spirit, before your form was even shaped. You watched the world with different eyes. Where others saw entertainment, you saw questions. Where others were satisfied with the surface, your spirit thirsted for meaning. You sensed something hidden behind the fabric of life. A spiritual current pulsing beneath the ordinary. This wasn't imagination, this was alignment. You were in tune with something greater, even when you didn't understand it. You felt things others didn't feel. You questioned what others blindly accepted. That tension inside you, the pull between the seen and unseen, was not a flaw. It was a sign. The chosen are born with a frequency not everyone can hear. Their spirit vibrates at a higher resonance, and the world, unaware of this vibration, often labels them as odd, distant, intense. But you were never meant to be understood by the ordinary. You were meant to awaken the extraordinary, and that silent longing you carried, that ache in your chest when life felt shallow, that unexplainable emptiness even in moments of joy. It was not a void. It was the sacred call echoing from within, urging you to remember who you are. It was the divine thread pulling you back to your mission. There is a kind of loneliness that doesn't come from being without people, but from being surrounded by many and still not being seen. This is the isolation of the chosen. You were never truly alone, yet you've always felt apart. From your earliest memories, there was a sense that you didn't fully belong. Not to your family, not to the places around you, not to the conversations people valued. It wasn't arrogance, it wasn't rebellion. It was soul separation. The invisible wall between the sacred and the common. You tried to connect, you tried to blend, but every time you did, something inside you pulled back, because your soul was not wired for the ordinary. You weren't born to follow trends or echo noise. You were born to hear the whisper beneath it all, the whisper of destiny. The isolation you felt was not a punishment, it was a sanctuary. a sacred space where the divine could shape you in silence. The chosen are always pulled away from the crowd, not because they are broken, but because they are being rebuilt, in secret, in solitude, in spirit. You may have wondered why you were the different one in every group, why no matter where you went, you felt like a guest in the room, like your heart was elsewhere. That discomfort was spiritual design. God was protecting you from blending in, so that one day you would stand out. While others thrived in shallow waters, your soul ached for depth. You saw meaning in moments others ignored. You sensed energy in places others passed by. That sensitivity wasn't weakness, it was divine perception. A gift placed within you before you even knew how to use it. You were set apart, not to be alone forever, but to be aligned with purpose. And when you look back now, you'll see it clearly. There was always something guiding you through that loneliness, a sacred presence, unseen but always near. You were never abandoned, you were being prepared. There are moments in life that escape logic, moments when danger came close but didn't touch you. Moments when a sudden turn, an unexpected delay, or a mysterious inner voice saved you. These were not accidents. They were divine interventions. You were being protected, even when you didn't know you were in danger. While others called it coincidence, your spirit knew it was something else. A hand unseen, a force beyond the visible, a guidance you couldn't explain. This protection wasn't loud. It didn't come with thunder or lightning. It came quietly, in the stillness between breaths, in the pauses between events. The chosen walk through the same world as everyone else, but with a sacred shield, not visible to human eyes, but stronger than any fortress. Because your path was marked by heaven, the journey required divine surveillance. Every step you took was observed. Every detour you made was permitted for a reason. That car that didn't start, that person you never met, that job that didn't happen. You thought it was failure, but it was protection. You thought it was rejection, but it was redirection. God was guarding you, not just from what you could see, but from battles you didn't even know were forming behind the scenes. The chosen are not exempt from pain, but they are guarded through purpose. And even in your darkest nights, when no one called, when no one cared, there was a presence beside you, a divine silence surrounding you, a spiritual hand keeping you from collapsing. You may have cried in solitude, but you were never abandoned. You may have walked lonely roads, but you were never unaccompanied. The divine does not always speak, but it never leaves. And now you begin to realize you were never fighting alone. You were never lost in the storm. You were carried, hidden in the shelter of the Almighty. And that is why you are still here, because even when the enemy tried to break you, heaven refused to let go. There comes a moment in the life of every chosen one when the inner storm begins to rage. It often starts during adolescence, a time when the world says you should find your identity, but your soul starts remembering who you've always been. While others chase popularity, comfort, and approval, you wrestle with questions no one dares to ask. Why am I here? What is this aching inside me? Why do I feel like I don't belong anywhere? These are not signs of confusion, but symptoms of awakening. What others call rebellion, you call a spiritual cry. What others call emotional instability, you recognize as divine unrest. While others saw adolescence as a phase of exploration, you saw it as a battlefield, where your spirit collided with the illusions of the world. You tried to fit in. You forced yourself into masks that didn't feel like yours. But the more you tried to be like them, the louder the inner storm became. The world pulled you one way, but your spirit pulled you another. And the weight of being different felt unbearable. You felt misunderstood. even by those closest to you. You carried burdens you didn't ask for, questions no one could answer, and a sense of purpose too heavy for your age. But this was not a curse, it was consecration. You were not being crushed, you were being called. The fire within you was burning away everything that didn't belong to your purpose. The isolation, the internal chaos, the spiritual longing, all of it was part of your initiation. Most people think the journey of the chosen begins in adulthood. It doesn't. It begins in the quiet tears of teenage nights, in the sacred battles fought behind closed doors, in the aching sense that your life will never be normal, because it was never meant to be. And now, looking back, you see it clearly. That storm didn't destroy you, it shaped you, it awakened you, it introduced you to the fire within, the fire you would one day use to set others free. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey when the inner conflict becomes impossible to ignore. You feel torn, not between right and wrong, but between what the world expects and what your spirit demands. Society teaches you to chase success, pleasure, approval, but your soul whispers, there is more. And the more you try to conform, the more you feel your spirit suffocate. Because you were never designed for conformity. You were created to carry light into a world that prefers darkness. You tried to walk the path others walked, but your feet burned on roads that weren't meant for you. You tried to chase what they chased, but your heart found no satisfaction there. Because deep down, you knew your life was not about fitting in, it was about standing out for a higher purpose. The conflict between your spirit and the world around you is not a sign of failure. It is confirmation that you are waking up, that you are no longer numb to the spiritual realm, that your soul is rejecting what no longer aligns with heaven's design. You've felt it, the unease in shallow conversations, the resistance to meaningless distractions, the urge to withdraw from crowds, not because you are antisocial, but because your spirit is craving sacred solitude. And with this awakening comes a deeper awareness. You begin to see through the masks, you begin to hear the hidden motives, you begin to discern the spiritual atmosphere in every room you enter. Because the chosen don't just walk, they perceive. They carry discernment as armor and silence as a shield. But this awareness comes with weight. You realize you can no longer live as you once did. You can no longer ignore what others easily forget. You can no longer pretend you don't. See what you clearly see. The world may call you strange, intense, detached. But you are not detached. You are being set apart. You are not lost. You are being led. The conflict you feel is not your enemy. It is your compass. And the more you honor that inner voice, the closer you walk to the divine path you were chosen to fulfill. With every step forward, something inside you burned brighter. The fire that once flickered in silence began to roar. Not a fire of destruction, but of purification. Not to consume you, but to awaken you. You felt it in moments of stillness, that holy unrest, the need to rise, to break free, to remember who you were always meant to be. While others continue to sleep, satisfied with mediocrity, your spirit cried for meaning. You couldn't settle, you couldn't fake it, because your fire refused to be hidden any longer. This sacred fire didn't come from books, religion, or tradition. It came from within, an ancient flame placed in your soul by the Creator himself. It was always there, waiting for the moment you would stop running and start listening. You tried to extinguish it, for comfort, for approval, for peace. But the fire cannot be silenced, because it is not yours, it is heaven's. And the chosen do not walk quietly through life. They blaze trails, they ignite awakenings. The intensity you carry, the way your presence unsettles the darkness, is not coincidence. It's spiritual design. You weren't made to fit in. You were made to disrupt. You weren't called to be soft. You were called to be flame. And now you understand. Every trial you endured was fuel. Every rejection was oxygen. Every tear was oil for your fire. You were being kindled, ignited, prepared. The sacred fire within you has a mission: to purify what is impure, to expose what is hidden, to light the path for those still trapped in shadows. And even if the world doesn't recognize this fire, the spiritual realm sees it clearly. The darkness fears it. The heavens celebrate it. Because you, chosen one, were sent to burn with purpose. There comes a moment in the life of the chosen, when the fog begins to lift and the puzzle finally reveals its shape. You begin to see the connections, the divine threads woven into your story. The pain, the confusion, the silent years. None of it was meaningless. It was all preparation. The tears you cried in hidden places watered the soil of your purpose. The losses you suffered were not empty. They were seeds of wisdom. Every closed door wasn't rejection. It was redirection. Now the revelation begins, and your soul starts to whisper, "This is why I went through it all." You begin to recognize that nothing in your life was random, not your family, not your city, not your scars. They were all chosen tools in the hands of heaven. Each moment was a stroke on the canvas of your calling. You thought life was just happening, but life was unfolding, perfectly aligned with your destiny. The fire inside you now has direction. The ache within you now has a name, purpose. You no longer feel lost. You feel summoned. A mission that once felt distant now pulses in your veins. You walk differently. You speak differently. You see differently. Because your soul is remembering who you were always meant to become. And with revelation comes responsibility. Now that you've seen the map, you cannot walk in circles. Now that you've heard the call, you cannot live in silence. You were not preserved through the storm just to survive. You were preserved to fulfill. Every word you speak now carries weight. Every decision echoes in the realm of purpose, because the chosen do not move aimlessly. They move with divine intent, like arrows released by the hand of God. And now, as you embrace your purpose, something shifts around you. People begin to notice your presence. Doors begin to open where none existed. Divine appointments replace random encounters, because heaven supports what it sends. You are no longer asking, "Why me?" You are declaring, "It had to be me." Because your story was never a mistake. It was a prophecy in disguise. The time of questioning has passed. Now begins the time of walking. No longer a seeker wandering in the dark. You are now a carrier of light. Your soul has awakened, and your steps are no longer random. Every choice you make now echoes beyond this realm. You are walking the path designed for you since before time began. The moment you accepted who you are, chosen, the spiritual realm shifted around you. You started seeing patterns where others see chaos. You began moving with purpose while others remain stagnant. Because now, you are no longer looking for signs. You have become the sign. No longer waiting for destiny to arrive. You are living it. And as you walk, heaven walks with you, each step aligned, each breath intentional, each decision guided by the one who called you before the foundation of the world. But this path is not always easy. You'll be misunderstood, resisted, even rejected. You will feel the weight of responsibility pressing on your shoulders, but don't let it crush you. Let it crown you. For only those who carry the fire know the cost of the flame. Walking the path means choosing what others avoid. It means letting go of comfort to embrace purpose. It means refusing the noise of the world to hear the whisper of heaven. It means standing firm when everything around you says retreat. You are no longer allowed to walk blindly. You've seen too much. You've been called too deeply. Now, your mission walks ahead of you, and your faith follows closely behind. Every day becomes a sacred step. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to awaken others. Every act of obedience becomes an offering. Because the chosen don't just exist. They walk intentionally, prophetically, eternally. And though your steps may seem ordinary to others, the spiritual world knows you are on divine assignment. The path you walk may not be paved with applause, but it is paved with purpose. You are no longer awakening. You have awakened, no longer questioning your path. You are walking in it. No longer searching for meaning. You are embodying it. The journey has shaped you. The fire has refined you. Now, you shine. You've become more than a voice. You've become a signal. Your presence, your silence, your gaze, they carry the energy of heaven. Even without speaking, the atmosphere shifts when you enter a space. That's what happens when a chosen one becomes the light. You no longer need to convince anyone of your calling. Your life testifies. Your story is a prophecy unfolding. Your scars are sacred proof. Your words now carry authority not because they are loud, but because they come from a soul that has walked through the fire and survived. People begin to feel drawn to you, not because of your image, but because of your essence. You carry a peace that the world can't imitate, a clarity that others crave. And even when you feel small, the light within you speaks louder than your insecurities. But understand this, the brighter you shine, the more resistance you will face. Darkness always fights back when light enters the room. You will face challenges not because you are weak, but because you are impactful, because your presence exposes what others try to keep hidden. But fear not, you were not chosen to be extinguished. You were chosen to illuminate. Your mission is not to escape the world, but to transform it, to guide the blind, awaken the asleep, and revive the lost. Not with arrogance, but with love. Not with noise, but with presence. You are now the lighthouse in a sea of confusion, the bridge between realms, the flame in a world of ash. You are no longer the one searching. You are now the one being searched for, and this is not the end. This is the beginning. The light you carry was not meant to flicker. It was meant to blaze. And now heaven watches as you rise into your divine role, not just as someone who was chosen, but as someone who finally accepted that calling and became the light itself. If this message touched your spirit, type in the comments, "I am chosen." Let us know where in the world you're watching from, so we can connect with your light across nations and souls. This is not just a video. This is a call to awaken, a call to rise. Because you are not here by accident. You were sent. And now, the time has come to walk in your divine assignment. If you felt something stir inside you, that quiet voice saying, "This is about me," don't ignore it, embrace it. The awakening has begun, and your story matters. Subscribe now and become part of this sacred movement. Hit the bell icon, because every video here is a divine whisper calling you deeper. And if you feel led, share this message with someone who needs to remember who they are. Someone who's been searching for meaning in a noisy world. Someone whose spirit is ready to awaken. You are chosen. You are light. And the world needs what you carry. This is the chosen awakening. And your journey is just beginning.